Hello and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be with me today. I would like to share some ideas about how the Suzuki philosophy can take a place in our daily lives. And so I prepared a couple of ideas for you. And so, in the circumstances of worldwide pandemic, I read somewhere something that's a really good title for this lecture. The world is temporarily closed for renovation. And that gives us time to reflect, look inside and think, okay, I have more time to spend with myself now. I cannot run anywhere. So how is that Suzuki philosophy really taking place in my life as a Suzuki teacher or parent or student? So there are three big things that big quotes from Dr. Suzuki that always are with me. And there is the big one, that man is son of his environment. There is the character first, technique second. And then there is, where love is deep, much can be accomplished. And there are many other quotes, but I think those three ones, they really speak to me in the Suzuki philosophy. And in today's circumstances, I want to look into man as son of his environment first. So, what actually is that, my environment? Who are my environment? Now, today, when I'm within the four walls of my house, my environment, it's me, myself. I have to live with me. Maybe it's my partner who lives in the same house. Maybe we even have children. And then in a wider sense, there is the whole virtual world. There are my students, there are the parents of my students, there is the news, there are all the social media that I can allow to influence my life or not. There can be television. Of course, there also is nature outside. We're still allowed to step outside and look at the beautiful sky and enjoy rain or sun or see how incredibly beautiful nature is and how blue the sky actually is when there are no planes in the air. So, of course, the one person that's always there, wherever you go, the one that you can never ever run from, that's you yourself. So, if I'm aware of the environment being influential in who I become and who I am, then of course it's a good idea to self-reflect, to think, how am I influencing how I am and how I act. To take time to self-reflect is a very valuable and beautiful and sometimes quite confronting concept. So, do I take time to think, how do I feel today? What am I in sync with myself? Do I feel happy or do I feel afraid, or maybe I'm suspicious of everybody who I see in the streets, or maybe also I feel a strong love and strong sense of connectedness with friends all over the world. Also, when I think about how I myself am part of the environment that I live in, so is self-discipline, is that part of me? Am I strict with myself so nobody else has to be? Or do I need other people to be strict with me? So do I actually invite other people to be nagging, or do I do the contrary? Or am I a person who embodies empathy? Can I replace myself into someone else? Can I imagine how it is for my student at the other side of the Wi-Fi line, who has to share his computer, who gets a lot of work from his school, who has to adapt to the new reality of not being in my classroom, who's maybe distracted by the cat or the dog or the whatever birds live in their house? Do I understand how tiring it actually is to stay focused to a screen, or how difficult it is to perceive the life in a performance that is no longer a live performance because it's transmitted through electric waves? Of course, the environment that I create for myself is going to be a much nicer environment if I'm kind to myself. So when I feel in balance, I definitely will be a nicer person to be around, even for myself. That means that I probably need to find some self-time. And self-time, I think, is the sum of me time and family time. It's time that I take for me, that I hide or rest or read or ponder or walk or go for a run. Because of course, the soul is much happier in a body that's been taken care of than in a body that's full of sugar and lying on a couch just spilling the time. And then there is family time. It's the time that how do I take part in being part of this family? Do I take responsibilities or do I hide from it? I think that in a society that respects equality, everybody is responsible for everything that happens under the spread of the arms. And well, I have long arms, so that's quite a big space, but it doesn't include feeling responsible for everything that happens in the world, or for any extremely intelligent remark that powerful leaders in other parts of the world make. I don't think I have to feel responsible for that. I'm responsible for how I react to that in the presence of other people, of course. So a big part of my environment is myself. I have to learn to be nice to me and to be someone it's nice to be with. Maybe I have to learn to balance my life so that it's good being with me. It's not always easy, because I know everything, I think, even the negative things or the not so beautiful things. So second part in my environment, of course, that's my partner. So the partner, that's the one that helps you to be you, and that's the one that you help to be him or her. The partner is like the one that completes you, that has the right to tell you the truth. That's the one that you chose to be with. That's the one that we are actually charging each other's batteries. And it's good to question that. am I doing that? Am I taking energy from my partner at the moment? Or am I giving energy to my partner at this moment? And it's good when there is give and take. And it doesn't need to be the same role all the time. My dad used to say that a nice relationship is like a Gothic window. And he said, like, you have two strong sides and they meet each other in the middle. And good partnership is when both can really stand on their own and they only will meet midway. But window shouldn't be so that one is going entirely there or the other one is going entirely there, because in that case there is no harmony, and it will be an unfair relationship. And so once in a while it's good to remember those first days, those first weeks and months when you chose to be together, and to remember that source where you come from, right? That actually has a beautiful influence on renewing the environment we're living in every day. And then maybe we have children, and the children, of course, they're also like a really, really strong influence in the household. And as I don't have children of my own, we don't have children, I'm not really an expert in that field. And when you hear nowadays how people who don't have the habit of homeschooling their kids, how they suddenly have to start being a teacher and a parent simultaneously, and then working from home, and then that sounds like a really complicated business. And of course, I was raised by parents where the roles were very clearly divided. My mom was the boss in house, and my dad was there to reinforce whatever she said. So that gave a lot of structure. We had the responsibility to take care of ourselves. And for instance, when we would come and complain to our mom, that, like for instance, we would say, "Oh, Mom, I'm bored." And she said, "Oh, in that case, you're punished." She would have us sit at a bench for a while and just wait. And she said, "When you're not bored anymore, you just can start doing whatever you like or you need to do." So then, or when we would get into a fight, she would put us with our heads together and say, "Well, when you're friends again, you can come and tell me, and then punishment is over." So with hindsight, I think my parents made quite strong structures within which there was a lot of freedom. So as long as you respect each other's space and you look for collaboration rather than conflict, life is going to be nice and it's going to be easy. And of course, as a child, I didn't know about how helpless or hopeless my parents probably sometimes were, thinking, will this ever turn out well? Somehow they seem to always get back to the point where the love they felt for us and whether we would all try to be nice people seemed to be more important than what kind of results or degrees or status we obtain. So probably a strong thing when being a Suzuki family or having children in the house is the challenge, of course, is that we need to be models. We need to become the kind of people we would like our children to be or to become or to be influenced by, and hence the self-reflection. How do I want to be with myself is a good start to think how I want to be with my kids. In the Jewish educational philosophy, they have this idea that you need to plant, and you need to build, and you need to pray. And you plant, which means that it's like a long-term process, where with your simple behavior, the way you are, our kids will learn our deep values in life, what we care for most, whether when it comes to it, whether we care for our kids or other people first, or we think first about the money or about the power. And the idea of planting is, with our actions, we give them long-term values, and that will eventually deeply influence their behavior. And the building part of education is building goes quicker. It's with more concrete things. You set rules, you give explanation, you say you need to be in bed at this time, and we eat together, and you're supposed to be there, and you gently but firmly reinforce the rules. And even when getting into a conflict with our the way we deal with the conflict, we are planting the idea of and the values of how you do that, but we're also setting the rules of how conflict is dealt with by adults. And then, of course, there is the part where it's not really always in our control who our kids will run into, what ideas they meet or encounter, the people they will meet in their lives. So there is a part of hoping that things come okay. And in the Jewish tradition, that's when you pray. You say, well, this is not in my hands. And it's absolutely okay for kids to see how you deal with that insecurity, and that not being in control, and saying, well, I remember one day when I was really angry with my mom because I couldn't get something I wanted. And so I said, I must have been like 13 years old, and I said, well, then I run out and I will just kill myself. And I remember that she started crying, and I was like waiting, and like, don't you act. So I walked out, and she didn't come after me. And so I waited outside for a while, and then I came back in, and I saw she was still crying. And I said, why don't you come after me? And she said, if you're really determined to do that, it's not in my hands, and it breaks my heart, and I would miss you so dearly. But if you decide to do such a cruel thing, I'm not able to stop you from doing that. I can only hope that you feel how much we love you, and that it's not a way to make us change the rules that we know that are good for you. It's not okay to let you blackmail me like that. But the sheer idea really makes me sad. And I must say, it made a really, really deep influence on me. It has stayed with me. It's my choice. It's also my responsibility. And how strong she reacted. Certain things are not in my hands. I have to let go of them. So In the Suzuki philosophy, there is Dr. Suzuki's model, and he says, well, man is son of his environment, but of course also character first, technique second. And that's also one that really fascinates me, because when we talk about being a model for the kids and for each other, wow, character first, that's a strong one. So I start looking up for a definition for a character, and I found this one, which says character is the mental and moral qualities that are distinctive to an individual. So, and the thing that struck me is that like character is just more than behavior. It's also like the moral qualities that you develop. So then I thought, what kind of character? What kind of moral qualities? And of course, as Suzuki teachers, we are inspired by Dr. Suzuki's model, by his way of being. And I listed up a couple of different character traits that I somehow strongly connect with Dr. Suzuki. And there is that one field or region or part where love and kindness and patience and generosity also are part of it, like the heart part. And then there is the character part where I think of Dr. Suzuki as someone who lives with persistence, who doesn't give up, who has huge self-discipline, who gets himself to get up early in the morning every day. For me, that alone is, I have deep respect for that. And there is the part of the commitment. So there is heart, but there is like really strong character and self-discipline. The third part that always fascinates me and that I find so liberating is the questioner. Dr. Suzuki is a research man. He's searching, and research means to search and to search again. It's to question and to question again. It's to keep asking questions. Why is it like that? Is it really like that? People assume it's like that. The common sense says it's like that, but is it really like that? And there is research and there is review, and as Suzuki teachers, of course, reviewing that's like a topic in itself. But looking to a certain thing from different points of view, so you get the most complete view on it. I think that's part of this personality. And in the fourth part, I think of in Dr. Suzuki that maybe not so talked about so much, but there is the originator of ideas, but also distributor. He's like spreading and sharing what he knows and what he finds, and is looking for collaborators and is learning from them. So that's like quite a big and complete inspirational model. So let's look into the heart. So the heart part of Suzuki, that's the thing that wins over parents all over, and the love as the main power in everything you do, and love as connected to life, and that incredible force inside all of us that shines from our eyes, and that is visible and palpable in everything we do. That is attracting parents and children and colleagues, and whatever we do that is filled with that love and that love of life and that energy that keeps us growing all the time, and that really spreads. It's a very, very powerful energy. Like my good friend says, love and gravity are the things that rule our life. Or maybe he didn't say it like that, but that's what I understood. Sometimes short brain helps to get deep insights. In the hard part of Dr. Suzuki, there is also patience. And sometimes people say Suzuki teachers have patience, and we don't really think we have patience. We are merely really present in the moment, and we accept that growth takes time and that it doesn't help the plant to grow quicker by pulling it, or you can just water it and put it in a place where it has enough sun and then make sure wind and animals are not destroying it. And so organic growth takes time, and what we do with the children also is in that kairos time, like the time where you are and you enjoy. And that's something that Suzuki was very, very inspiring with. Like really being with you and making you be with him and be in that time. So that the things that you remember with your heart, that they stay with you. They say that you don't always remember so much what the teacher taught you, but you will always remember how he made you feel. So then also connected with this image that I have of Dr. Suzuki is one of extreme generosity. He could easily, once he got this deep insight of the concept of how we learn mother tongue and how we acquire that, he could have kept it for himself and just taught a couple of parents and become still a world famous teacher, very influential, and he would have made the money he needed or he wanted. But he chose to share this idea and to spread it all over, and he apparently couldn't stop talking about it and wrote about it and wanted his text to be translated, and he apparently cared enough to set up structures that allow for many, many children in the world to benefit from his insights. And that is huge generosity, and we see all around us with fellow Suzuki teachers how generous they are with their time, with their insight, sharing their ideas. It's very normal for a Suzuki teacher when they found out a nice new idea about any technique to share it. Like one of my teachers who says, when you do vibrato, first you have to make a bed, a table with your finger, and then you make a bed, or a chair and a bed, and a chair and a bed. It's a very strong, clear image. It helps. And the teacher shares it with the students and shares it with me, and I share it with you, and it travels all over the world. And that typical generosity is a very beautiful concept. And it's for me, it's part of being a Suzuki teacher. So there is this kindness filled with true respect. It's not just being soft or not standing up for what you believe in, but being kind and respectful and allowing the other the space they need, and not forcing our ideas on someone who's not ready to learn or not willing to learn, but just planting the seed and give it time to grow. And so if we want the children to remember, have good memories of their time with their Suzuki teachers. And if we want their music to be filled with beautiful emotions of being accepted and being in balance and being happy and grateful, then we need to kindle the kindness in ourselves. And then I thought it was beautiful that the word kind is part of kindle. So to spread, to inspire, has kindness in it. So something to think about. When thinking about Dr. Suzuki's personality, there is the kind side, there is the hard side, but of course there is also huge character, because in order to have such beautiful ideas spread and be accessible to others, it takes the character to get up in the morning and to start doing your work. Without action, there won't be any reaction. Without action, we are not spreading the beauty and love and this fantastic energy. So it's worthwhile thinking, how do I develop persistence? How do I get myself to keep on going until something is done? Therefore, I need to learn to recognize when I'm not done yet. I need to recognize this is not finished. It's like in simple ways, when you are playing with the recording and the recording is quicker than you are, the recording is not too slow. Or the recording is not too quick, I'm too slow. And I need to improve and persist and work until I can catch up with the recording. And I need to persist until I can play with the recording. And eventually I will persist until I can play my own beautiful version of this piece in a way that it has become my own. So I need to persist and learn to recognize also in life whether I have reached my goal or not. So there is persistence and there is self-discipline. Self-discipline is getting yourself to do the things you know you need to do. You set yourself goals, and of course motivational psychology teaches us that it's easy to be motivated for self-chosen goals. So once you choose your goal, and you set the goal, you also need to find ways to get yourself to stay motivated until you reach the goal. And I like to think of ideas that how to trick myself into doing what I need to do. When I go running, I need to go running right after I leave the bed, when my brain is still not awake, and when I don't think too much. Before I get coffee, I need to go. And when I'm running, I think, oh, wow, yeah, oh, I did it. But then the hard part is over. It's like, I have a friend who says, I always collaborate with a guy. We work together to building cupboards and doors. He's like a carpenter. And he says, at 8 in the morning, my colleague is there. And it's not because I like to get up early in the morning, but it's because at that time, when he's there, I have to make sure I'm there. So I put myself in a situation where I have no choice. And when we have students coming in at this given time, we have no choice. We need to be there. We need to go to wherever our studio or school or classroom is, and we need to put ourselves in the situation to be ready. So, and when we're in a lockdown, we need to make a plan and a schedule and say, I have to have this done, this is the deadline, and very often other people are helpful with that. We kind of make promises and then we need to get it done before that time. So when building character, there is persistence, there is self-discipline, and there is also commitment. Like, who am I doing this for? What do I want to reach? Because we're only going to be happy if the people around us are also happy. It's not possible to be happy when you know that someone you care for is not happy. So there is the social dimension in building characters. Who do I commit to? Then let's go back to the questioner, the research person. Dr. Suzuki inspires me to ask questions myself. I've learned from Dr. Suzuki, amongst others, how to produce a tone on the instrument. And when we study with someone in depth, it is very valuable to copy, to really follow the lead, to copy with your ears, with your eyes, with your heart, with your body, what you have been, what you are shown. In order to understand, we need to try to integrate as much as possible the way that our master is doing things. But then, the beautiful thing about being a Suzuki student is that Dr. Suzuki himself was searching all the time. He was questioning all the time. He was approaching the same topic from a different side. He was searching, improvising, finding solutions, making up solutions, using elastic bands, using weight, using anything. And then when he had learned what he wanted to learn, he moved on to the next step. Or maybe he found out, oh, but this thing with the weird bow hole doesn't work, so I'll try another bow hole. And the reviewing and re-questioning all the time, that part of being a Suzuki teacher is a part I really like. Also because it invites, it allows me to be a rebel. A rebel is someone basically who thinks for himself. So you say this, okay, I try to understand deeply what you say, and then, is it true for me? Do I see the same truth when I look at all the different points of view? Is the earth really flat? When everybody says the earth is flat, is it really? So this questioning approach, this rebellious approach, where we allow ourselves to say, yeah, but I have a duty as a Suzuki teacher not to just copy what Dr. Suzuki taught me, but to build on it and improve. Because somehow the idea is not acceptable to me that we would not evolve from insights that are 30, 50, 100 years old, 1,000 years old. I think that deep insights and old insights, we should learn them, we should study them, we should integrate them, and then try to enrich them and maybe find new insights. There's so much beauty in keeping learning. And when you want to learn and you're questioning in a healthy way, life is never boring. It's always about finding, discovering something new or discovering something old, and getting deeper inside, and that keeps our brain awake, and it keeps us very happy and healthy and energetic also. So I think of Dr. Suzuki also, or of Suzuki teachers, I think, should be improvisers. And it can be improvising on the instrument, William Boustany, the famous Lebanese flute player who's working for the London Philharmonic, he says that every morning he starts with improvisation. He starts by improvising first, because as a musician, we need to find our intonation in the morning, but we also need to find our tone. And it's not just warming up, it's finding, how do I sound today, and what do I have to share with the world or with me? What do I need to discover today? So, and improvising is a good way to get into that. Improvising is also daring to fail. You're trying for a solution in a lesson, and it doesn't work. Although this formula has worked for you 1,000 times. Time to come up with something new. Maybe the material you always have with you to demonstrate something, it's not around, so why not use something else? Why not come up with a new idea? And of course, it means we need to dare to fail. Now, if we are capable of recognizing that we fail and accepting that we fail and admitting that we fail, it's not so bad to fail. You just learn from it. It's an opportunity to get better. And failing only becomes a problem if there is face to lose, or if my ego needs to be boosted. And well, aren't we talking about character development? So maybe that doesn't really have a place there. So a beautiful part of Dr. Suzuki's personality and of his character. So there is the hard part, there is the persistent part, there is the questioning part, and then there is that extreme generosity, that sharing part. So we learn by borrowing, by acquiring, by practicing, trying out things. Then that builds a base on which we start to originate things. We start to bring together things that have not been brought together, at least not in our own heads or with our own hands. So we start to make up things, and they're made up from the same material and atoms and ideas that everything else has been made up. But filled with our life, it gets meaning. And so a big part of what we do, the biggest part, is passing on what we know, what we learned. And we add to that with our own personality and heart and inventiveness and intuition. And we distribute what we have, like Suzuki shared these ideas worldwide. And in doing that, we are trying to kindle the minds of our students, and we're connecting our souls. And it's not just with students, it's with colleagues. It's because in any case, we will be students until the day we die. And everybody around us will be a teacher for us if we just allow them to teach us. So And that brings me to the third and last part of the three big quotes that I used from Dr. Suzuki, like man is son of his environment and character first, technique second. And it leads me to my favorite one, is where love is deep, much can be accomplished. And somehow love, that beautiful exchange of energy and life, that being in the moment, that being connected, that then is the driving force for everything we do. And let's hope it is that force that drives us, because the outcome is so different if if it's not love but envy or jealousy or arrogance or need for confirmation, or is so and it always brings us back to how do I find that love? How can I make that love be part of my daily life as a Suzuki teacher, as a musician, as a performing artist, as a partner, as a parent, as a student? And so we're back to the beginning. We need to become living examples of what we want to be. So questioning myself, what do I want to be, and am I really doing this? So how many mirrors do I have in my house to remind me of whether I'm still being the person I want to be? Am I the inspiration that spreads beauty and harmony and beautiful ideas and pushes everybody to give their best? Am I the inspirator with all the different shapes and forms for the people I'm around with? Is my love so deep that it can kindle other souls to sparkle? So am I the capable of forgiving? Do I develop enough sense of empathy to forgive when I feel that someone is doing me wrong? First of all, do I need to take things so personally, or is it easy for me to forgive and to say, well, we are all trying, right? You know, if I have the right to fail, everybody around me has the right to fail. And sometimes when people say or do things, it looks really stupid in our eyes, but that is because we don't understand what they do. And when we don't understand what people do, it's either because they're really not smart and they don't see what we see, or it's the opposite. It's us not being at that level to understand what they're doing. So interesting to question ourselves about that. I repeated the idea of sharing, and sharing can be expressing your ideas. It can be let's play together. We can talk together. We can listen to each other. We can observe classes. We can watch videos, and we can learn from anywhere. We can walk in nature and see how nature brings us things, and we can try to be very quiet and listen how the world is sharing things with us. We can work hard and in the same time allow ourselves the time to adapt, because change does take time. If I want to become a better person, through being a better teacher or a better violinist or working in any ways, I need to allow myself the time to change, because change does take time and it takes a lot of effort. And we're in a time that we're required to develop new habits quite rapidly. And so our brains are tired, and our students' brains are tired from the screens and from adapting to new things all the time. So we probably need more sleep than we usually do. So I like this idea that the lockdown actually tells us that we should sleep more. Anyway, we know that sleep turns a good idea or the search for an idea even into genius. When we are searching for something so deeply and so seriously, and at some point we let go, we go to sleep very often. The sleep brings us the solution for the problem. And so to take the time to sleep is also a good part of being a Suzuki teacher. I love this quote. I'm sure it's going to be taken out of context later on. An idea that also goes with where love is deep is that excellence actually is a very mundane thing. To be really, really good at something doesn't feel like being really, really good at something, because you just got a little bit better than you were yesterday, and yesterday you became a little bit better than you were the day before, or maybe it goes like that, up and down. So for people who are really, really good at what they do, it apparently seems very normal, and it seems extraordinary for us. But excellence apparently is a habit. It's a habit that you form, and that is not, we're not very careful, attentive, beautiful, elegant players if we're not careful, attentive, elegant people in other fields. Is the way we teach or the way we play are not so separated from the way we are. So there is the challenge to make excellence a daily habit, or something to strive for, something I put on my wish list. And then to close this, I want to, because that's lots and lots of expectations that I've put up there for myself in the first place, and for all of us Suzuki teachers, coming from Dr. Suzuki's beautiful model. But I also want us to remind that all final decisions, all definitive end decisions, they're all temporary. So you can make a really strong decision saying, now it will be like this for always, but always is a relatively short time, usually in life. And surely when we just look at the planet or the universe, then always is quite short. So I would like to say thank you. If you've been listening to this, I really, really admire you for sitting with me, and thank you for allowing me to spread my thoughts. So maybe we can remind that if you want to pour someone a glass of wine, you need to fill the vessel before you start to pour. We need to fill the bottle before we can empty it. And it's the same with us. We need to fill up inside before we can share. And of course, when it comes to giving warmth, we want to feel the warmth inside before we can share it. And I guess it's probably easier to be the air when it comes to sharing warmth than it is to be the sun. My point being that very often we can be a medium. We can be the the person that shares the energy or shares the message that has been planted there way before. We don't have to come up with everything new. We also share from a source that is much bigger than ourselves, and that is with all of us connected, all humans on the planet actually, and with all those living souls. And I never know whether, of course, the animals and the plants, and even mushrooms and trees communicate with each other, and of course the whales do, and the birds do, and people also communicate in very many different ways. So I would like us to be a bucket in the ocean, so the water can easily flow, and not take our bucket out on the beach and just stand there with all our knowledge and wisdom and be the smartest person in our own prison. That would be sad. So therefore, I invite you all to let our smiles just travel the world. And thank you so much for being with me. And I'm really very much looking forward to meet soon again. Bye-bye. Big hug.